Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Retire Right with Epstein and White. As always, I'm Brad White.
And I'm David Epstein.
Dave, how you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous, Bradley. Feeling great, feeling good. I think we have a super show for our viewing audience today, and so...
Well, I certainly like to think so, right?
every week, right here on Retire Right with Epstein and White, we're going to have great info, and today is no exception.
We get excited to talk about these financial strategies. I don't know if that just says more about us, Dave. You know, certainly gives me enough ammo for my wife to make fun of me on the kind of stuff that I get excited about. But nonetheless, it's helpful information, and certainly we hope you find it helpful here today. As Dave mentioned, we got a tremendous show lined up for you. So today we are going against the wall, right? If you watch this show, you know that a lot of times we like to go against some of these kind of Wall Street strategies or some of these things that unfortunately people get pushed on from time to time that may not be in the consumer's best interest. So today we've got a great segment where we go against the wall, and we're going to be talking about how various financial professionals get paid, what's important, where that value is, and why you might seek their help. We've also got a great retirement alert here today where Dave is going to be teaching you some excellent life insurance strategies.
Yes, Bradley, a big question out there. How should you be titling your beneficiary statements of your financial accounts? Should they be in the name of a person or a trust? That's a big issue. You got to get that right. And certainly, any one company have all the great investments? I don't think so. We're going to teach you more about that. So let's get this show started this week. Let's get going.
All right, and welcome back. Right now it's time to teach you how to invest smart, right? Each and every week we come up with something we think is going to really help you invest smarter, right? Something, Dave, that we certainly would all love to do, which is invest smarter.
Absolutely.
So we made the title there a little bit obvious, but the substance underneath and how we get it done, maybe not so obvious, and that's why each and every week we're going to do this. Now, what we want to focus on this week is, do we really think that one company has the absolute best of everything?
No, absolutely not.
Very succinct answer and the correct
one. Let's get that right out there.
From my partner over here. Very succinct and very correct. Okay, again, it may sound a little bit obvious when I say it, but unfortunately, in reality, we see a lot of situations where somebody ends up with every single investment that they have being from the same exact company. So let me kind of give a little bit more of a backstory here, and then we're going to get into some in particulars. Now, one of the things is there's a lot that makes up any financial plan. Okay, we've got to understand things like budgeting and cash flow analysis, which tells us how much we can save each month when we're working, or how much we can take out and live off of each month when we're retired. We have to forecast things like inflation and how does that impact a plan. We have to take things like tax management into consideration. So again, there's just a whole lot that makes up financial planning in general. But the real engine that runs any financial plan, whether you're working or retired, is the investments, right? Where you actually put your money, again, the engine that's going to run that plan. And so that's, again, where we hire financial professionals, Dave. I mean, let's face it, for most of us out there, we're not financial experts that understand all this necessarily.
Yeah, and it's true, folks. There's a lot to know. There's so much to know, actually, when it comes to financial planning and investment planning and picking the right investments that are right for you, okay? What's right for you might not be right for your neighbor, okay? And what's right for your neighbor certainly might not be right for you. And so everything you need to be doing now with managing your money, whether you're 30 years away from retirement or you're on the precipice of being retired, you really need a holistic, customized approach. And Bradley, that's hugely important, that everything that makes you you is that you're picking those investments that match your risk tolerance. So if the market was having some volatility, that you have the capability and the mindset to stay the course and not do what so many irrational people do and really is undermining their retirement or their investment program by selling low and ultimately buying high.
Yeah, well, let's take that even a step further, okay? If I'm gonna, let's use a portfolio as an example, okay? And if I'm gonna build a portfolio that maybe has 70% stocks or 30% bonds, remember, there's a whole bunch of different what's called asset classes, right? There's U.S. stocks, there's international. There's large cap stocks, there's small cap. There's financial stocks or there's technology stocks. And really the list goes on and on. Emerging markets, different types of bonds, gold or silver, et cetera. So there are thousands and tens of thousands of choices out there, different mutual funds, different exchange traded funds. There's just tons of choices. And there's hundreds of companies that offer these choices. So the whole point of the segment is if you found a portfolio where every single asset class was from the same exact company, to me, that is a huge red flag. And really for you, that should be a red flag. Because again, what are the odds that this one company is the very, very best at every single type of stock, whether US or international, at every single type of bond, whether it's government or municipal or long-term or short-term? I mean, that's just, again, what are the odds?
Yeah, hey, folks, you know, these companies that create their own products, okay, do they do that to be less profitable or more profitable, Bradley?
I'm going to go more.
More profitable, yeah. Okay. So sometimes there's unfortunately a bias, depending on which kind of advisor you're working with. And so if this advisor, okay, and many fine advisors work for large institutions, you just have to understand that these large institutions create their own products and services. And not always are those the best products for you, but that might be the recommendation you might be getting. And just understand that going in. Apply some common sense and know that, you know, there's a whole world of investing out there. There's a whole world of choices, okay? And if a company is creating their own products, they're looking to be more profitable. And if that recommendation of that same company name on that product keeps showing up time and time again, I might be wanting to get a second opinion as to how I'm investing, Bradley. And so,
you know, really what you're referring to and what we want you to think about here is that there's a very, very big difference between working with an independent person, somebody who has access to every possible company and every possible choice with no real bias as far as how they get paid or what they're forced to do. Their only goal in life should just be to understand your particular needs and then go figure out what the single best investment is, regardless of which company it comes from. And again, when you think of diversification and you know that you're gonna have maybe 10 or 15 or 20 different investments overall because you need that diversification, you're going to find in a well-built independent portfolio that might be 5 or 10 or 15 different companies hand-selected where each of those choices is the very best thing that each of those companies done. It's a very complex world. There's tens and tens of thousands of choices. You need to make sure you're getting a second opinion on what you currently have from an independent, non-biased source. So take a look at our phone number and our website. We'd be more than happy to give you that independent second opinion for yourself.
You made it. Years of hard work, investing, planning, and now you're here. The long-awaited reward you spent a lifetime looking forward to. But what now? After years of growing a nest egg, now you want to manage it. Use it to fund your dreams. Make sure it lasts as long as you need it. And make sure it leaves a legacy for those you love. So what do? Wall Street continues to be uncertain, and many conservative options have all but dropped through the floor. How do you maintain opportunities for growth without risking what you can't afford to lose? That's where we come in. We are financial professionals. From investments and insurance products to tax reduction strategies, estate planning solutions, and guaranteed retirement income you cannot outlive. You've worked a lifetime to get here. Let us help you enjoy it to the fullest. For a special free guide entitled 10 Things to Know About Retirement Income, simply contact us today.
welcome back, everyone, and retirement alert. And not many things in this country that are tax-free, but let me teach you about one that's been around for over 200 years that is. And it's a tremendous benefit, and it's known as life insurance. Yes, life insurance. Typically when you buy life insurance, and really the core reasons why we do buy life insurance is to take care of the people we leave behind, those loved ones, okay? But there are some tax benefits within life insurance that the United States Treasury has granted and has granted for many, many decades now, and a couple strategies I want to make you aware of to help you in your retirement. Well, one that we see often in our office, we see a client who purchased life insurance many, many years ago, protect his family, okay? And now this type of life insurance, whether it was whole life insurance, universal life insurance, or variable life insurance, it built cash value inside that policy, and it did so on a tax-deferred basis. Now, many years later, the kids are grown out of the house, and maybe there's a mortgage, maybe there's not, but now you've built up a good chunk of money inside this policy, okay? And so now you're looking for, now that I'm closer to retirement, maybe there are other areas of concern that I have that this policy doesn't meet those concerns. One I'm worried about, what happens if I get sick, okay? Long-term care, really expensive. We all know that. If you've had any friends or family members that have gone into a facility or needed home care or assisted living, not uncommon that you could spend $4,000 or $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month. It can be really expensive. So you have the ability to take this old, dusty life insurance policy that you've had all these years and you've accumulated a lot of money inside of it, and now you could take advantage of the Internal Revenue Code, and the Internal Revenue Code is this Section 1035, where I can exchange my old policy for a new policy. And all my gains that accumulated in my old policy can move over tax-free to the new policy. Where this new policy, I have an example for you, where up on the screen we have a 60-year-old gentleman who's still in good health, preferred rating, and if he had $100,000 in his old policy, he could move that over tax-free into the new policy. And now where his old policy maybe had a $250,000 benefit, death benefit, now because of the new actuarial life expectancies that we all have, actually life insurance costs have gone down, okay? Because we're living so much longer. The insurance companies can spread the premiums out over a much longer period of time. So this $100,000 that was in my old policy moved over to the new policy tax-free. Now it's not a $250,000 benefit, it's over a $400,000 benefit. But equally as important to that, if I should have a long-term care illness, now I have, as you could see on the screen, it's a $16,000 a month benefit as a living benefit, okay? And that living benefit is tax-free, okay? And that means if I needed care at home, in assisted living, or, God forbid, if I had to go to a nursing facility, that once life insurance policy that only paid when I died, and yes, it had some cash value I could take as an emergency fund, now I shifted from really this money from this pocket over to the new pocket, and in doing so, that money moved over tax-free. Instead of it being a $250,000 life insurance policy, now it's over $400,000. And now I picked up a long-term care benefit that I didn't have before, where it's over $16,000 a month. And if I don't use these benefits, God willing, I die peacefully in my sleep and I don't get sick and I need this long-term care, well, this now enhanced life insurance benefit is going to go to my spouse, okay? So, boy, taking these old dusty dollars, getting them to work harder, and finding new benefits, new living benefits in these policies that you can get today. Thank you so much. And just if you want a second opinion on your old dusty policy, you see the number or the website on the screen, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, and welcome back. It is time for our viewer question of the week. Every single week, you all reach out to us and ask us some really good questions, and each week we pick one. And this week, one of our viewers asked, how are things inherited? Which, at face value might seem like kind of just a simple question, how are things inherited? But there are a lot of nuances to this question, and it really depends on kind of what type of an account we're talking about here or what kind of investment. So it's a really great question, and we're going to dive into that. And Dave, what I thought would be a good idea is that we started on retirement accounts. Okay, again, it's kind of a retirement show. Almost all of you out there have some form of a retirement account, IRAs, Roth IRAs, and it might be kind of the most confusing part. So I think a good place for us to start, Dave, which is letting you know what happens when you are the beneficiary of somebody else's IRA account.
Perfect. Just about everybody out there has an IRA, a 401k, a 403b. So let's hit the masses now. What is the best way to have a beneficiary designated if I have a retirement account? Well, more often than not, that's going to be a person. And it's going to be really the vast majority of the time, Bradley, that's going to be really a person. If you're married, it's going to be your spouse. Contingent beneficiaries would probably be kids if you have kids, okay? More often than not, it's not going to be a trust there, okay? It's going to be a person, somebody with a heartbeat. A trust is an entity. We want a person typically to be the beneficiary of our retirement accounts. There are some exceptions of which I'll get to in a couple of minutes.
So just real quickly, as far as the titling of an account, only a person can own an IRA. So if it's your IRA, you're going to be the sole owner. It can't be jointly owned, and you can't have something like a trust own it. So you're the owner. You're going to name, let's say it's your spouse, the 100% primary beneficiary, which means, God forbid something happens to you, it goes to them. You can name contingent beneficiaries, which means if something happens to both you and the primary, well, then the accounts go to those people you name as the contingent, okay? Now, this will typically become what's called an inherited IRA, okay? So if it's your kids or something to that nature. A couple important things here. Number one is that when we reach the age 70 and a half in our lifetimes and it's our own IRA, we have what's called required minimum distribution, which means depending on how old we are, we have to take at least a little bit out of our IRAs each year. Now, if you inherit an IRA account, you will also have required minimum distributions, even if you are under the age of 70 and a half. So there's a scale from age literally 0 on. So depending on how old you are, yes, you will have required minimum distributions on your inherited IRA, which is taxable income when those come out. Now, an interesting thing is, let's say it's a Roth IRA. Roth IRAs, when it's our own in our lifetimes, do not have required minimum distributions. We are never forced to take them out in our lives if we don't want to. However, when you inherit a Roth IRA and it's an inherited Roth IRA, yes, you do have required minimum distributions. The money, the distributions, will come out tax-free because it's a Roth, but the IRS will make you take out a little bit each year. And in case you're wondering why, it was just kind of their effort to make sure that generation after generation didn't just keep compounding tax-free wealth. So they're kind of forcing even the beneficiaries to take a little bit out each year, even though it's 100% tax-free. One other thing that's kind of important here, Dave, and I want to jump into, I know your part, which is extremely important, is just know that it's a little bit different if you're a spouse. If you are a spouse, then you could actually just have it become your own IRA, which means it's your IRA for the rest of your life, or you could choose to have it become an inherited IRA. Why would you do one versus the other? Well, if you are not 70 and a half years old yet and you don't want the money, you should have it become your own IRA because you will not be forced to take those required minimum distributions out yet. However, let's say you're under the age of 59 and a half and you do want some of this money. Well, if you just made it your own IRA, you'd have that 10% penalty to pull money out before 59 and a half. However, if it was the inherited IRA and you have those required minimum distributions, you can receive those before the age 59 and a half, and they will not have that 10% penalty. So I think you can already see, Dave, why this stuff can get real confusing in a hurry, which is how are you titling things and who's beneficial, and should it be mine or inherited or Roth or this? So, but there's another important part, which is what if you just don't want that beneficiary to have access to all that money right away?
Yeah, hey, sometimes, if we left a lump sum to our kids, boy, that might not be the best way to leave it to them, right? Sometimes our kids can't manage money very well. Unfortunately, in some families, maybe our kids are doing drugs or alcoholics, which is sad, but that's what happens in life. And so we have to plan around that. And so there are ways that we could make a trust the beneficiary of an IRA, and that will help stretch that money out over that son or daughter's lifetime, where they don't get a lump sum, which is critical, okay? So also critical if they weren't challenged with those kinds of addictions, and it was just we don't want our kids to have the opportunity to take a lump sum. Well, having this trust be the beneficiary of a retirement account is really important because it makes them mandatorily stretch this out over their lifetime, which would make this benefit so much greater over a 20, 30 or more year period. So, really important planning, Bradley, here, having the proper beneficiary designations. And if you want to get a second thought or second opinion just to make sure your designations are correct, you see the number, you see the website, give us a call. We'll be more than happy to help you out and make sure it's exactly right, just the way you need it.
Social Security is something that impacts almost all of our retirement plans, and it's incredibly complex to learn all of the rules, all the strategies, all the options, not to mention how it implicates your taxes or investments and everything else in your retirement plan. Here at Epstein and White, we are experts in how to navigate through this difficult Social Security conversation, and we have an incredible team ready to help you on how to choose Social Security correctly. So take a look at the number below, come see our website, and we're looking forward to seeing you and helping you navigate through your Social Security decisions.
Welcome back to Retire Right with Epstein and White. This next segment, who gets paid for what when it comes to helping you with your money, okay? And there's a whole world, advisory world out there, Bradley, of different, certainly people with different licenses and different responsibilities to you, the consumer, as far as legal responsibilities, best interest, always doing what's right for you. That's a fiduciary. Mm-hmm. Broker, held to what's known as suitability. And so there's a big difference there, as well as all the things that we could do, Bradley, mm-hmm. to how do we pick investments and what kind of advisor should we be looking to when it comes to picking those right investments?
Yeah, that's great. And really there's a lot of different layers to financial planning and investment management. There are a lot of different services out there that you might potentially seek, and there's a lot of different professionals that do different parts of these services that charge different types of fees. Just like any industry in the world, if you're a consumer, you have a particular kind of a need, right? You have a particular service you're seeking out, and you want to make sure that you find the right person that does that. You don't want to be paying for something that you don't unnecessarily need. And what we find over and over and over again is kind of this question or this comment that we'll get a lot of times, Dave, which is kind of like, I'm not really sure what my person does, right? I'm not necessarily sure what my person does. And believe me, again, I've had family and friends who have known what I've done for years and years and years, and they honestly couldn't tell probably another family member there's exactly what Brad does.
Right.
A lot of times, maybe stocks and bonds. I know he's a financial advisor. I'm not necessarily sure.
Right.
So that's what we're going to do here for today, because the chances are that you're going to want to hire somebody for something when it comes to your financial manners. The chances are you need help somewhere, and we want to make sure you understand what your options are, what services are out there, and how different people get paid.
Absolutely.
So let me run through a few different examples right now. Think about financial planning first, okay, which is, let's say you need help understanding your income, understanding your budgeting, understanding your cash flow and where you can save, understanding things like your tax management or where you should be putting your money, or do you need estate planning help, or what kind of life insurance that you need, right? Financial planning.
Social Security.
Social Security, right? So there's a lot of financial planning elements on there. Let's say for a quick second that you felt really good about investment management. You like following the markets every day and picking your own funds or your own stocks. So you kind of said, look, I don't want to pay for investment management. I like that, but I don't really understand kind of the financial planning stuff in general. There are people out there that just do that. That's kind of a fee-only planner. There are people that will sit down with you, figure out what you need and how much work it's going to take, charge you a flat fee, build you all of those answers, and then kind of give those to you, and it's up to you to implement everything and monitor that and kind of choose the investments. That's a good option for you to know about if you don't want to pay for investment management. And then there's the exact opposite out there, right? There are certainly people out there who have absolutely no concept of what the stock market's doing or other investments. They feel pretty good about their own kind of budget in their life, Dave. They kind of understand their own finances. They feel good about that, but they just don't want to deal with the investments.
Exactly.
Well, the last thing they would want to do, right, is go hire and pay for a financial planner. Maybe what they'd be better served doing is going and find an investment professional only that really just gets paid to manage money, okay? You might save yourself some unnecessary fees or some unnecessary services you don't quite need there. Okay?
Right. And so the last thing you want to be doing is wasting money on fees, folks. It's hugely important to be fee efficient now, especially as you approach retirement. This is now, you've grown this money to hopefully to a level that will replace paychecks. And so now that we have maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe a few million involved, this extra 0.5% here, 1% there in fees, boy, that adds up each and every year, Bradley, and over many years, we're talking serious money. And so being fee efficient, folks, hugely important. But getting the right advice, getting the right advice is equally as critical, maybe even more critical than a fee. We all pay a fee. Many of you are paying fees right now in your investments, and most of the investments you might have, you can't really tell the fees that you're paying because they're not transparent to you. And that's another thing, Bradley, is making these fees transparent so you know exactly what you're getting or not getting. And that's huge. That's what's always been important for me personally.
Sure. Yeah, no question.
Is value.
Yeah.
Knowing that if I'm paying a fee, I'm getting value for what I pay for.
Yeah.
And that's what's critical in planning.
And so what I want to do now is kind of describe a common relationship for you out there, and we'll open it up a little bit to what our philosophy is and what we do even as a firm. You need, from a financial planning standpoint, before you can figure out what investments you want, you need to figure out your goals, your needs, your overall situation, your tax implications, and your risk tolerances. So as certified financial planner, right, that's what I do, that's what our firm does, that's what we do. We help assess all of that from a financial planning standpoint. However, then we also have chartered financial analysts, right, investment experts, who they do nothing but all day, every day, kind of the bottom-up stuff, which is analyzing what your asset allocation should be and exactly why it's the single best ETF or the best stock or the best fund in the world. So you want to work with people that have multiple layers of expertise to really round out the comprehensive picture, and you really want to make sure that you're not double paying for fees or services or things you unnecessarily need. Okay, again, it's a very complex world out there, but it's extremely important to get your financial plan in order and to get the right investments to fund that financial plan. So if you're looking for any help with any and all of that, you'll see the number on the screen and the website. Give us a call and we'll be happy to assess all of that for you. Social Security is something that impacts almost all of our retirement plans, and it's incredibly complex to learn all of the rules, all the strategies, all the options, not to mention how it implicates your taxes or investments and everything else in your retirement plan. Here at Epstein and White, we are experts in how to navigate through this difficult Social Security conversation, and we have an incredible team ready to help you on how to choose Social Security correctly. So take a look at the number below, come see our website, and we're looking forward to seeing you and helping you navigate through your Social Security decisions.
Well, that's all the financial fun we have for you this week. We had a great show this week, Bradley. Talked about a lot of great information.
You know, I really thought we did. Really important stuff like how you should be titling your accounts and how you can inherit things correctly. Really great information like how the industry works and who gets paid to do what. Just a lot of great stuff.
Yeah. Stay tuned for this show each and every week to help you retire right.